I posted a picture of my workplace, and a general manager from across the country saw it and reported it to corporate and my general manager. I was supposed to be fired that night, but because of the people I work with, I wasn't. I won't post any details as I don't want them finding out. Deleted my account and the post. Good thing I kept my job because I got into an accident recently and have to pay $3,400 in repairs. Without that job, I'd be screwed. I only make minimum wage. Another forum I posted in a relationship subforum about me and my current girlfriend, about the issues we had, among other things. She saw the thread and we broke up because of that. She checked out my profile and figured out it was me. My ex posted a picture of her and I, doing something after we'd broken up. We were both dating other people at the time. My girlfriend at that time was also a Redditor. She was not very happy after she saw that. I kinda got the opposite. My girlfriend looked at my subscribed subreddits and found out I was subscribed to Splooge Working Girls, and later let me splooge all over her. Positive result. Oh shoot, I can't find the story anywhere, but it was in Florida, where a Redditor whose dad was a detective leaked details about an investigation where a teenager snatched a little girl and tried to leave, but ended up not making it out. Police were looking into filing some kind of charges, but since the detective's son leaked really important details, they had to drop the case. I wonder whatever happened to that kid. A coworker asked for my Reddit username. No one in real life knows either this one or the other one I have. I thought that was the whole point. If you follow people you know, isn't that just glorified Facebook? That's what intrigues me about Reddit. I think I'm in the minority, but anyone else not like the people they know having their username? I posted a rant on how my now ex-girlfriend's mother was an outright B-word and how much I hated her. It was relevant to a topic. And I mean, I tore her apart in this post, describing how she treats me, her daughter, and everyone around her. Well, then my girlfriend ended up wanting to be cute and beat my karma score, so she started up a Reddit account randomly without me knowing and searched up my account. I used the same username for everything I go on, and she saw my post. Did I mention she's my ex now? That's relevant to this topic. I made a post after a fight with my girlfriend about how ignorant she was and how her parents kind of sucked at being parents. Now, she's not an ignorant person in general. I was just mad at the time, and her parents aren't crappy, but they were definitely being crappy that week. Anyway, she saw that I signed into Reddit but didn't know that I had an account. She found my post history, read that comment, and a crap storm ensued. She thought that I thought that she was stupid. False. She thought that I hated her parents. Very much false. She was also teed off that I told the world about those problems, even though no one on Reddit knows who I am, and therefore no one knew who I was referring to. That was a stressful couple of days. I shared my shock at the discovery of the fact that an ex of mine believes in ghosts. At first, she was upset for being made fun of on the internet, but it turned into a healthy conversation about beliefs and being judgmental, and we both gained something out of the conversation. One time I commented with the "what the frick did you just say" copy pasta and left my browser window open with the PC on sleep mode. A few days later, my mum comes to me with this disheartened and horrified look on her face with a printed out screenshot of the comment thread demanding an explanation for my ridiculous threats and profanity and lots of other things. Keep in mind that she's the stereotypical religious mum of Reddit atheism's meme posts. I tried for a really long time to explain the concept of a copy pasta, but it just didn't work. What if the colleges saw this? She cried. And to her point, if colleges got a hold of my comment history, I'd be screwed for worse reasons than the internet tough guy meme. I almost got sued by this girl I made a meme of. She said if I didn't take the meme down, she'd sue me and report me for bullying, getting me suspended from high school and ruining my shot at college. However, the meme still lives on some websites, and my school paper wrote an article about me. How did you scar someone for life? My sister used to sleep with this giant stuffed dog that was probably 4 feet long. She'd put it on the right side of the bed and cover the dog with a blanket so it looked like a body pillow. Anyways, in 5th grade, I thought it would be funny to play a prank on my little sister. I took out the dog and I climbed into her bed and covered myself with the blanket where the stuffed dog usually was while she went to talk to my mum. My sister comes back and climbs into bed to sleep while I'm laying in the bed with her without her knowing. It's dark in the room. I lay there in silence for maybe about 3 minutes when I finally go, "Hey." She literally screamed at the top of her lungs and ran out of her room so fast that she knocked over everything along the way to my mum's room. It was probably one of the funniest moments of my life. However, I did scar my sister so badly that to this day, and she's 20 now, before she climbs into bed, she always removes the blanket to check if anything is underneath. Needless to say, she almost had a panic attack watching The Grudge. You guys know the scene I'm talking about. So, what have the rest of you done that scarred someone for life? I just learned this month that one of my 3 sisters is afraid of vampires. I had accidentally tripped the breakers in the house one night while my parents were out, and I was watching them. I was 12 and my sisters all gathered in the back room, the only one that still had power. I saw this as an opportunity and targeted the youngest, who was 6. I told her that I'd cut off the power intentionally and that I was a vampire. I told her that I intended to eat her, and as I did this, I suddenly leaned in close and bared my teeth. All 3 of my sisters screamed, and the elder 2 fled the room, each out of opposite doors. The youngest, abandoned, instantly burst into tears and grabbed the nearest weapon, a serious pair of scissors off a side table. As she lunged, screaming at my chest, I saw the fear and determination in her face, and I ran. I passed up my other 2 sisters on the way out and locked myself in one of the bathrooms. I screamed my confession of the joke immediately and begged my other sisters to calm her down. I learned that apparently the single light in the room had managed to shine red across my eyes at just the right moment and throw terrifying shadows across my face. Oddly enough, it was actually the second youngest that was scarred by this, refusing to watch a vampire movie to this day. I never threatened the youngest again. I went over to my friend's house. Right when I walked in, I could hear him doing the dishes. I walked by the kitchen and his back was to me, so I walked into the kitchen and just stood behind him, like a foot behind him. I honestly have no idea how he couldn't have at least sensed me there. Then I just stood there smiling, waiting for him to turn around. After about a minute, he finally turned around and did one of those no sound screams where he just inhaled loudly for about 5 seconds. He was also, thankfully, just washing his last spoon and not his last knife, because he spun the spoon around in his hand to stabbing position. It was honestly close to the hardest I've ever laughed. What got me was the silent scream and the look of absolute horror on his face. He says he still gets a little edgy when he's alone in the house washing dishes, or when he thinks he's alone. Well, I feel like this is as far as you should take this one, because your friend is now going to absolutely shank you if you are ever found to be standing behind him again. I've also done this to the same person a few too many times in a row, and now move deliberately, loudly around the house in the fear that the next time I surprise him may be my last. Best of luck to you. This one happened to me. My older cousin once told me that when you flush the toilet, a monster will come out, and the only way to be safe is to enter another room before the flushing noise stops, because the doorway is a barrier. Even long after I stopped believing it, I kept doing this out of habit. Flushing the toilet still gives me a sense of impending danger and a desire to leave the room really quickly. When I was 6, my parents took me to the Natural History Museum that featured a dinosaur exhibit with a T-Rex that would move its head and roar. In my mind, the sound of the toilet flushing was very similar to that of a T-Rex roaring. So clearly flushing the toilet would alert a T-Rex in the area, and it would come running over to eat me. From then on, I would make sure I was all done, pants buttoned up, door open, hands washed before flushing the toilet, and then I'd run the frick out and slam the door behind me. It only applied to our second floor bathroom though, because the window in that room was the perfect height for a T-Rex's head to take a peek inside. Any other toilet was fine to flush, so I only got the urge at my parents' house to look out the window to check for random dinosaurs gallivanting around. I threw the frisbee for my dog and she kicked up a stick that stabbed her belly while running for it. She's deathly afraid of frisbees now. One day, when I was about 5, my dad brought home a pack of gummy bears that he got at work. He shared them with me, of course, but I kept playing with them. The way they reformed themselves after being crushed was oddly amusing, until he told me that when you eat them, they'll reform in your stomach and climb out of your throat. Then he leaned in and whispered, "And they're gonna remember who did that to them." I still can't eat those darn things. My brother and I shared a room growing up. I'm a side sleeper, so I'd always be facing his bed as I drifted off to sweet slumber. Somehow, as my eyes slowly opened and closed, he could time it perfectly that I would close my eyes, open them, and behold, there he was at the foot of my bed. I still have trouble falling asleep, and we don't even share a room anymore. So I used to share a room with my sister when we were about 7. So one day before bedtime, I decided to draw a dog on the ceiling. Yeah, I was a little brat, and I justified it to my sister with, it'd be the first thing I'd see when I wake up, and then my day would be great. The cartoon dog turned out so great that my sister begged me to draw her one. I agreed and started drawing, but it wasn't a dog. It was a scary mother-frickin' onion man. It looked like a melting onion face. I don't know why I drew it. It really messed her up. She had nightmares about him, and my parents moved her out to a different room. In short, I drew a scary onion man above my sister's bed. She refuses to buy me Christmas presents to this very day. I should clarify that it was about 14 years ago and it's long since been painted over. As I remember, it looked exactly like a grumpy, rotting onion face. Just imagine an onion face, then imagine it decomposed and grumpy. My brother still flinches every time a butterfly flies by because I told him they were poisonous. He's almost 18 now. I waited for my dog to come through the dog door, and when I saw him on his merry way, I stuck my head out of it and screamed, "Boo!" He's never used that dog door again. Damn me, now I have to let him out all the time. My brother came into the bathroom when I was having a bath at about 4 years of age. He asked if I'd like to hear a story, and then proceeded to tell me a horrifying story about monsters. As he neared the end of the story, he turned off the light switch and said, "If you put 1 foot out of the bath, the monsters will get you." He shut the door, leaving me alone in the pitch-black bathroom. The water got colder and colder, but I didn't move a muscle. Mom found me there about 3 hours later, scared stiff and crying. Screw everything about baths. I had an awesome Labrador growing up. The nicest, friendliest, happiest dog I've ever known. We were at my aunt's house when he was about 2, and he saw a horse for the first time. He went to investigate and was carefully smelling the horse through the fence, bringing his nose up to meet the horses. When his metal choke collar touched the electric fence, he yelped and ran and turned into a trembling, slobbering mess anytime he saw a horse for the rest of his life. I did not expect this many stories about people traumatizing their poor doggos when I began writing this script for the video. They're delicate animals and apparently very prone to learning way too much from their mistakes. Poor poochies. I hope your gentle souls were soothed by the eating of many treats. When I was in 6th grade, we were studying surface tension. I thought it was really fascinating and started asking my teacher all kinds of questions. I guess my eagerness was annoying because when I asked Mrs. Vance why soap would break the surface tension of water and how it worked, she rolled her eyes at me. "You know, Susan, if you'd start washing your hands after you go to the bathroom, you wouldn't have to worry about things like that." The class laughed at me and teased me for weeks. That one moment completely changed the way that I did school. Instead of asking questions in class, I remained pretty silent unless forced to talk, and I started memorizing textbooks to avoid feeling that way in class ever again. I recently did this to my significant other. I waited until he was going into his room, the light was off, and I hid next to the light switch and cupped my hand over it. He went to turn on the light, felt my hand, and freaked the F out. He's a big man with a deep voice, sounds like Peter Steele. He went up about 8 octaves and squealed like a little girl. Fricking hilarious. He now sticks his head into the room before turning on the light. Next time he does this, I'm going to put my hand over his face. My older brother loves to stay up late and play video games in our basement. One night we had a scary movie marathon with the lights off. When we were done, I pretended to go upstairs and hid behind our sofa. After about 10 minutes of playing games, I whisper, "Do you want to play a game?" I have never seen him move that fast in his life. He still refuses to play video games late at night 6 years later. I remember thinking when I was younger about how spontaneous death is after the death of my grandfather. Now, whenever I leave somebody's room or house or whatever, I say something incredibly kind to them. That way, if they do die, the last thing I've said will have been awesome. From the time when I was about 3, my big brother told me all sorts of bugs and earwigs would get inside my ears while I slept, and they'd eat my brain. He went into horrible details of how they'd reach my eyes and slowly eat them, and it would be the most painful experience of my life. I sleep with a blanket over my head at all times, and wake up in the morning to check my ears the very first thing. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out Easy Mode, also linked below, and subscribe.